everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Black Mom Society Fireside Chat. I am your host, Dr. Dwayne, with the Black Mom Society, CEO and founder. Today, we have Nia Alvarez-Mapp, who is one of the pivotal community members of the Brooklyn and New York City community. We are so happy to have her with us today. We are in the season of gratitude, the season of care, the season of giving. And as moms, you know that we're dealing with so much as family. And we want to have the right people here with us to guide us and to give us some insight into how can we get involved, how can we get started, what are some resources, some ways that moms and families can get involved. And not only that, the most important thing, which is why do we do this work? And why is she doing this work? And the most important part about it. We're just going to get started with Black Mom Society is a women's group that is here as a mental health practice to uplift women, work with professional moms, all moms, step moms, bonus mom, grandmas, god mom, glow mom, every mom, right? Aunties, everyone that's a mom that you have it in your spirit to be a mom. You are here with us and we're so happy to have you. I'm going to have Nia introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Nia Alvarez-Mapp. I am the senior organizer for Common Cause New York, a good government group that is known for holding all elected officials accountable. I am also part of the board called New Majority, which our entire bringing a presence is ensuring that women get elected into office in New York City campaigns. And then finally, what is more near and dear to my heart, especially as we go to the holiday season, I am the chair of the Dignity Project initiatives, in which we are trying to ensure that communal care and words of charity is more dignifying every day.
I love it. Do you see why she's with us today? She is what we think about when we think about civic duty. How did you get your start within the community work? Tell us.
I would actually thank my mom. My mom has been one of my biggest supporters. I'll actually go even further back. It's my grandmother who then would pass it to my mother and then she passed it to me. What we have learned growing up is that one, you cannot, what an injustice for one is an injustice for all. And you could tell how well society is, how they treat their lowest folks. So for us, we really wanted to create a way in which one is not looking down on the other. We're just trying to uplift each other because sometimes the message straight up is it's just one bad paycheck or one bad day. You could end up just like the person on the street. I live my life and my philosophy like that every day. That is why I'm very active in my communities and any community that I join. And most importantly, when it comes to the civic component, which is my main specialty, I believe that every person deserves to get heard. And about that being heard is to know what you're getting yourself into and the rules of the game. I think people think the rules are overly complicated, but I just don't think they've been explained more clearly to some folks. I try to break down the civic, make up the deficit, if you will.
I like what you said with making up the deficit because that's important. I think it's pivotal that you are almost 2 generations in with this work. I think that is so powerful to hear. You started with your grandmother, then your mother, and now you. And I think that says a lot about not only yourself, but also your family and the important work that you will see and the vision that you see with doing community work and holding people accountable. I like the work that you're doing. I think that's very important. We need to keep these elected officials accountable, right? These politicians, because as we see every day in the news, that's something that they're lacking. But how did you get into that specific work with that?
Again, the reason why I reference my grandmother is because she came from Honduras at age 13. She was put in kindergarten because she did not speak English at the time. Coming from a woman who was 13, held back multiple years, to being one of her co-founders to a community school in East Harlem, it really shows that if their government and elected officials are not hearing what they want to hear or doing what they would like to do, it's time for us as the community to come together and create the solutions. Growing up, we treated election day like a national holiday. It was very exciting that my parents and I would all go down to the poll location. I would get to pick the slots. We learned about it and got to stay up until 9 o'clock at night to see who won. And that really created that engagement with me to want to know what am I voting for, who is doing what, and making me realize that my vote is going to carry on for the next X amount of years. And I used to work for the Campaign Finance Board, also known as New York City Votes, in which a lot of people, even older than my age, didn't really understand what the mayor does versus what the president does. I realized how much civic education was really missing in New York State. And I know, quite frankly, in the United States, but particularly in New York City, because that is my city, the best way I could try to make up for it was to give civic education classes. And again, a part of what I think scares people is that people don't know to ask for help, to ask questions. They don't want to seem dumb. And for me, I think there is no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb thing you can do is to not ask the question. Understanding which I learned in working on campaigns, that elections are reverse job interviews. What people see is the optics first. And as we saw with this current election, sometimes experience does not matter. It's more about vision, the idea how we can work together to create something. But moreover, how to not just rely on the executives of your city, your state, your country, but how can someone just as small like a district leader or a state committee member decide who gets elected in case any mishaps happen, or who picks the judges, or who gets to represent you in the overall selections that will have a longer impact on your future for the next 2 to 6 years. Every election is important to somebody, and that is why there is Congress people even making recommendations on who will be our next speaker in city council, because they know even a small inch of power will lead to retaining the policies that we may or may not want. It's no mistake right now that even though the current mayoral-elect, the speaker-elect, and the governor all disagree on various things, but one thing they all agree on right now is universal childcare. They recognize that there is close to $8.2 billion lost due to parents not being able to have someone to look after their kids.
People don't realize that childcare is like a mortgage payment.
And that policy, with enough people yelling and frustrated about it, had created something quite popular that you can get people on all sides of the aisles to come together and try to find a solution.
You brought up so many points, and I'm just so happy that you did. The first part of it is just the local elections and the importance of local elections. I think that we get wound up in our presidential elections that a lot of times we forget that it's the local elections that really can drive a lot of what's happening in our everyday community. Can you talk to us more about how we get involved in our own local election and what can we do to make sure that they're held accountable?
Every community board meeting, every time you're in New York City and join a Democratic club is valuable. Even knowing who it represents you is extremely valuable, because at the end of the day, in which a decision's being made that you don't like, you can call your city council member and they care because they know your constituent. A lot of elected officials like to make people believe that this is going to be their retirement home, and not realizing us as voters are the employers to their employees. Right. If we don't like you, we can get rid of you. We have seen it in the past, and it can be happening again. It's all based on the values in which you feel are aligned to you when you pick somebody in the future. When we want to vote for someone, we're thinking not just that person for their popularity, but how are they best resembling you and what your life might look like for the next 4 years. So join the community boards, join your Democratic elections, join those hearings. A really big movement that actually happened was that 4 out of 4 hearings were all about casinos in various parts of New York City. 3 out of 4 of those casinos got shut down because regular people like you and I went to those hearings and held them accountable by saying that those casinos would cause more poverty, more drug addiction, more nefarious things that will not help the community overall, even though you claim it about the economy. Just attending certain things in which you feel like getting your frustrations out there will go a long way in the long term.
So, a community board, you mentioned this. So you can break it down just a little bit. How do you get involved on your community board?
You can look up your zip code and community boards, and it can tell you what community board you're in. You can start attending these meetings. Community boards are regular people like you and I that came together and want to be more invested into what their neighborhood and district is getting into. I know most people famously know community boards to block housing projects. that might be in their neighborhood. However, they also do various other things, such as trying to reinvest into their schools, making sure that there's creativity around the area, making sure that the parks near their neighbors are clean. These are the advocates on the government side your borough president and your city council listens to. A lot of elected officials get their start joining community boards, being known in the neighborhood, being active in the neighborhood, really showing that you're having an investment, a long-term investment, a good marking for it. Most of community boards start at night. Another way in which you can get involved is joining a Democratic club. There should be a Democratic club in almost every area in which they have district leaders. District leaders are elected officials, unpaid elected officials, but elected officials that city council, state assemblies, state senators, congress people, and even governors attend to listen to because they're the ones that have the ears of the community. If you feel like you're not being heard or you want to advocate for things, simply going to your city council member, state assembly member, or state senator's local office and asking, how can I get involved? Here's something I'm frustrated about in our neighborhood. They have constituent affairs and community affairs people that can redirect you or help you create a policy or solution as well.
Very informative. And I think that's the baseline we can definitely start with. I'm getting more interested in doing more with the community and local politics, everything I've seen going on, even within my own community with my own kid. A lot of times that's how it starts, right? Like moms are upset, they try to find a solution, they go right to their local officials. I think just knowing where to start definitely helps. Are there any other ways that people can do this? I love what you said about your mom making election day like a holiday. I think that is so powerful because a lot of times it's just election day. I remember growing up, they had the politician, there was like a cartoon, and it used to talk about the Bill of Rights and the
A
Constitution
school
as well. Yeah, and I remember they used to talk about the importance of election day, but I don't see that anymore. So how can parents don't have to do exactly what your family does, but like how can they make election like how can they talk about it? What are some things they can do?
Just simply talking about it is just the first step. Honestly,
Right.
dinner conversations are something very vital. I think one thing I always highlight with my mom is that if you start your kid at an early age by taking them to these community meetings or joining local organizations, I understand that civic education is not the most sexiest topic, but I will say the way in which you can make something fun is if you discuss it and you understand it, and a part of it is not looking at it what people can't do, but looking at what people should be doing and what people can be doing. I think when we look in civic education and politics in such a negative spin, we have a negative thoughts about it. But we should be looking at it what colleges can bring opportunities for. If we can start being more optimistic, and I know it sounds crazy, but if we're a little bit more optimistic about how we look at ways in which we can get involved and which other people should be getting involved, what we want in our hopes and dreams, and how that can resonate into us making policies and voting people in that follows those hope and dreams, it does make a conversation a little bit more lighter and more fun.
It may not be the sexiest topic, but it is a very important topic. And the points that you just came with are what we needed to hear. The scariest thing would have to be a couple weeks ago when SNAP benefits were basically out the window. And so many people were like, what are we going to do? And on top of that, you made this point in the beginning of our talk where you said that people are almost a paycheck away from experiencing some level of hardship. With all of these furloughs happening this year, it hits you not only in your pockets, but also in your heart.
It's the reason why communities are so vital. A lot of women who are elected in office are mothers themselves. They were actually inspired by their own kids to run for office. I remember this one woman, she is, I believe, the now mayor of New Rochelle, Georgia. And she said she ran for office because she kept taking her daughter to the nicer playgrounds in New Rochelle instead of the playground next to her. She thought, "What does that say about me and my child? I would rather give up and go to another nicer area instead of fighting for my own community." That really does ingrain into people why they want to be the change that they can be, because simple things such as a playground can make a big impact into your entire neighborhood and community. I think about my grandmother in this. My grandmother came from Honduras, being a woman who didn't understand English, to being a founding member of a community school started by parents that got U of T to have the paraprofessional chapters, and also being a member of the Young Lords and Black Panthers because she wanted her voice to be heard. It's just a starting block of having that conversation and realizing that you're not alone in this.
And your grandmother, she's a role model. She's definitely an exemplar because not only is it self-made, but it's awareness. It's all the things that creates you to be a little bit someone that's holding others accountable and understanding where you fit in with that. And I think that's the best example that you could have.
And funny enough, it's a full circle for me because the toy store where I'm doing my toy stores is the same exact school she co-founded. So it's all full circle.
Cool. Do you also work with them outside of the toy store?
Just to give you context of why I decided to do the community toy store, I really hate toy drives. I don't hate toy drives in its concept, but I hate toy drives in the fact that it feels like we are treating families like they're charity cases. They're not charity cases. They're people that are going through a rough time, or they just need a little bit of, as Bill Withers says, just need somebody to lean on. And you would take away the magic from the kids and the dignity from the parents just so you can feel better about yourselves. Because of that frustration, me and a group of people came together and said, why don't we reinvent how we look at toy drives? Instead of us giving both the kids and the parents toys, we wanted to give them brand new toys. We created the areas to make it feel like a Macy's in which they can personally go shopping for K to 12 if they want to. We can get a gift wrap for them and bag for them. The kids are none the wiser, so the parents look like they bought the toys for them.
I like that. And I love what you said about families, the dignity behind it. And I think that says a lot about how you're seeing these families, you're seeing right through them as opposed to just checking a box or stereotyping them at the moment in time. And even if it could be forever, it doesn't matter. You're giving them the respect and the dignity they deserve and giving them the opportunity to give to their kids and make their kids look at them as their shining light because that's what they are. And I think that's amazing, giving them that push. And I love that. There's something that means a lot as a mom. Yes, with Rachel, but yes, we have gone through hard times too as a mom. For someone to see who you are and to give you that dignity outside of it, it means a lot. And it says a lot.
The first idol a child will ever see is their parents. You would want to be the person that breaks the idolization, the innocence out of that parent because it looks like they can't provide and they are seen as anything less than being great and as if they cannot have the support. And that's what makes people feel at the holidays. You don't want to be put in a situation you have to figure out whether you pay for the light bill or your kids' toys. The holidays are supposed to be a happy time. It shouldn't be a time in which you feel like you have to beg, barter, and steal. You have a little inch of dignity. We can provide that. I'm more than happy to help.
And how can we learn more about your toy store, your community toy store? I know it's affiliated with one of the organizations that you are with. Can you tell us more about it and how people can go if they truly need support?
Yeah, I'm happy to post it with you later. We've been doing this for 4 years now. We're slowly but surely realizing that this is gonna go away. We're actually trying to be a little bit more foundational on it. For folks that want to volunteer, we have a shift confirmation form you can sign up for. If people would like to donate, we have toy registries as well as a donation link. Even a simple dollar counts to make someone breathe a little bit more easier. Look out for us because the whole aspect of the Dignity Project is not about what if you were the person on the side, but would you like you if you were serving yourself? Expanding to something more serious, such as the panty drive we're looking to do in February to provide underwear for men, women, and children who have gone through sexual assault. Most people don't realize that when people go through sexual assault and they have to go through those kits, some hospitals and police precincts do not provide adequate underwear for them. So they're actually walking out without underwear. It's tiny things that people don't think about or notice, but goes a long way in the sense of humanity. Look out for our website and our mission soon. These are just projects that we are talking about and working on the works and makings for.
Love it, Lynn. Yes. So you hear it first. We're definitely going to make sure it gets to everyone so that they have the information, whether you're able to come in person to support or know some people that may benefit, we can definitely pass them through your snowball. This is still the week of Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is not just on Tuesday. We extended along. So definitely supporting what Nia is doing with this effort. And I think it's amazing what she's doing with this initiative. And we are not done with Nia yet because she'll be joining us later on this month for our community town hall. So we're excited to have her there again. We are happy to have you for this quick fireside chat so people can get a good insight into what you're doing and the importance of local elections and being a part of our local community.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really did enjoy this conversation.
Thank you. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Motherhood Unplugged Black Moms Can Mom Talk. If anything we discussed spoke to your heart, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay in the loop with more powerful conversations that center Black motherhood. If you are looking for coaching support around parenting, transition, stress management, or executive functioning, visit blackmomsociety.com to learn more and book a free discovery call. And don't forget to follow up on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Black Mom Society for real mom moments, practical tools, and upcoming events and town halls and podcasts. Tap the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Take care of yourself, mama. You matter.